This is the Urban Binge Radio. Sunday Flow.
So, getting back into these Dr. King hot topics in this Dr. King episode, I wanted to discuss 8 fun or hot facts that we might not have known about Dr. King. And we're going to run through these fast because the most important ones I've separated to discuss later on down the line in the show. One of the first things that I bet a lot of people probably did not know is before Coretta Scott King has children, she sung jazz and played music and played the violin. She sung jazz music and played the violin, had dreams of becoming a singer, but pregnancy stopped her plans. A lot of people probably already know that she was playing the violin. She was a artist when she first met Dr. King. I think they met in school or something like that. I believe Miss Coretta Scott King was over in New England, is where she found her passion for music. And of course, her mother, if people don't know her mother, I forget her name. She was a singer. I know her father is Obadiah Scott because that's a name you can't forget. Obadiah Scott is Coretta Scott King's father, but I can't remember the mother's name off the bat. But the mother was a singer, and Coretta Scott King found, loving her mother singing, she found, I want to be a singer. But she once said that having children kind of stopped all of that, so she had to start having freedom concerts, where they would tell freedom stories and stories of slaves and stories of people who had hardship with white people, and sing songs in between these people giving these stories. I think she called it the freedom concert or something. So she found a way to maneuver what she loved in with having her children there at the same time. But of course, eventually that kind of washed over because her life rapidly changed with her husband being killed in the midst of such horrible Jim Crow laws and mistreatment towards black people in that time. So it was really hard for her. My husband, who was fighting for equality, is now dead, and I'm trying to continue on being a singer and take care of these children and be a first lady to a church where my husband is now, deceased, can't preach. And later to come, Martin Luther King's mom would be shot, and the following year after Martin Luther King was killed, his brother drowned in his Alabama swimming pool. I believe it was Alabama, his mansion.
I would be remiss if I did not share with you.
More than 50 years after her husband's death, Naomi King continues to teach younger generations, not only about the issues of the day, the civil rights movement.
A lot of people did not know, and still do not know, that ML had a brother.
But the man, also on the front lines of the movement, Reverend A.D. King.
We met at when we were like 12 and 13, and so I just can't think of a day of without him. I just cannot.
Naomi and A.D. married in 1950. She later attended the University of Alabama. She had a front row seat to her husband's work.
Whatever ML wanted done that he could not do, he would ask A.D. to do it, and A.D. would take it and do it in a heartbeat.
After graduating from Morehouse College in 1959, he went into the ministry, eventually taking over as pastor of First Baptist Church outside of Birmingham, Alabama, then moving to Kentucky in the mid-60s to pastor another church. But he remained dedicated to his activist work. King's house in Birmingham was bombed in 1963 as a result of his activism, and he was regarded as one of the main strategists for the Selma demonstration. More than a year after his brother was killed, A.D.'s life would also end tragically.
I lost it because I said, drown? I said, well, A.D. was an excellent swimmer.
He was found at the bottom of the family swimming pool.
God simply said to me that A.D. did not drown. He was killed.
While his death continues to be a mystery, Naomi continues to keep his name alive. In 2008, she established the A.D. King Foundation.
He was funny, he was smart, he was just the utmost.
Well, Naomi travels promoting youth and women empowerment and entrepreneurship. She's also written books and been a part of a documentary about her late husband.
And they really don't know what happened with that. If he drowned or if he was killed. but people say he drowned in 1969, Dr. King's brother. Fun fact or hot fact number 2, when Dr. King met Coretta Scott King, she was scrubbing floors and cleaning up, I think, a school building or something like that. I can't remember what kind of building it was, but she was cleaning up basically like a janitor. Although she has white descendants though, and he is fully black, Dr. King was more well off when he met Coretta Scott King than Coretta was. So Coretta had a little bit of money. Dr. King was living in a nice apartment that the rent was kind of high on in their time. He also had a car and a job, a good job, from what one of the school members who went to school with them said. She's 90 years old, and they did an interview with her recently to find out more, because her and her husband were close to Coretta and Martin when they first met. So they all kind of used to go on double dates on the campus, at school, different places like that. But they end up losing friendship over the years. And of course, I'm your friend here at school, but when I move back to my state, I'm probably not going to talk to you no more. So nice knowing you for these few years, but I'm going back to the ATL to my regular friends. That type of situation.
A love story of epic proportions, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott met in Boston, Massachusetts in 1952. King Jr. was studying for his doctorate in theology at Boston University, while Coretta was studying voice at the New England Conservatory of Music. A mutual friend from the 12th Baptist Church gave Martin Coretta's number, and they agreed to go out on their first date. They fell in love and married the following year, and settled in Boston for their first home until they moved to Montgomery, Alabama in 1954, where they continued their civil rights work. The landmarks of their love story can be seen all over the city of Boston, but one of the most notable is the Love Story mural. Painted on the side of what is now an apartment building, it was once the site of the 12th Baptist Church, where King served as the assistant minister from 1951 to 1954.
But that was kind of surprising, because I would have expected Coretta Scott King having this white descendants and being a female in college. I would have imagined that she would have money, wealthy. Her family was wealthy. But come to find out, it was Dr. King who had more money and was living better than Coretta when they first met, which is kind of shocking. She didn't even have a car, and he had a car. So that's something that they considered living better back then. Nowadays, hell, you ain't got no car, or you do got a car, that don't mean you living better, because there's rich people riding the train up here in New York City. Sherry Shepherd rides the train up here in New York City. So yeah, you'll be shocked who you see up here on the train in New York City. Anybody got time for this traffic? They ain't got time for this traffic.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But right now,
The Urban Binge Radio Podcast,
where we discuss viral topics, hot jams, new artists, fun, and informative interviews and conversations. This is your news stop for the hottest trend in urban culture news. 2 shows, 1 podcast, The Urban Binge Show and Sunday Flow Show, powered by The Urban Binge.
The Urban Binge Radio Podcast. Listen anywhere podcast can be heard.
Haters like, am I going to hell for the things that I could wear? I ain't gonna hide my blessings when I know He's made a way. I'ma sweat it out. Gotta keep my hands high. Hollywood shine. Thank God for what I got. Now let's go. Gotta thank them for what I got.
Oh, we got one here, baby.